Folks at home, welcome back to the Crimson Oak Pond, and if you're new to this series, we built this 5-acre pond over the past year, and it took us several months to get all of the dirt excavated, and we had to bring in several truckloads of clay, and we also built an island, a dock, and got all the structure in place, and then it took a couple of months to get it full of water. After that, we stocked it with a bunch of bait fish, including bluegills and threadfin shad, and not long after that, we stocked it with these little 2-inch aggressive bass. And we're going to be giving you an update on them here in just a minute and showing you how big they've gotten. And we're also going to be working to improve our lawn and grass around the pond with a product called Sunday. But now it's time to give you an update on the bait pond. And if you missed the last video, we basically took the area that was known as Clyde's Cove and we sectioned it off by adding a clay levee from this corner to this corner. And we brought in a bunch of clay and kept spreading that out and compacting it. And I think it turned out pretty good. We also came in and added some Bermuda sod to hopefully hold everything in place. But the backstory for building this pond is we can't stock crawfish in the 5-acre pond because they could burrow holes through the clay blanket. So we're going to go in with an equivalent, if not better, option that resembles a crawfish, but check out this guy known as a freshwater prawn. And these are basically shrimp that can grow these gigantic pinchers. They're extremely high in protein, and as a member of the shrimp family, they don't burrow, so they'll be perfect for this pond, and they can grow from 1/8 of an inch to the size of your hand in a single growing season. So I'm pretty excited about the prawns, and I'll be giving you a lot more details. And the next thing I wanted to do is add some structure in the pond for the prawns, so we went in with a little bit of gravel and some wooden pallets. And keep in mind, we got to scoop all the prawns out of there at some point, so I didn't want to overdo it with too much structure. We also got a decent amount of rain last night, and you can see the pond's holding water, which is great. Now it's time to get the filters and pumps in place and start filling it up. All right, time to install some pumps and filters into the new pond. This is like a canister style filter from Aquascape. That does up to 3,500 gallons per hour. And we got one of the bigger size pumps that'll go with it at 5,200 gallons per hour. But here's a quick look at how we're gonna hook it up. You can use these pumps and filters kind of as water fountains, but we're gonna hook up the pump. It's going to sit down there on the bottom of the pond, and then it's going to pump the water up to the filter, which will be on the outside edge of the pond. Connect everything with those hoses. Should have some nice clean pond water. So it's an easy setup. We're getting these adapters attached on. This is an 1.5-inch adapter going to this 1.5-inch pipe. Now we're adding the bio balls to the canister filter. So I was debating which water source to use to fill up the pond. We've got an underground well over there. I could run some water hoses over here and use that. But to me, it makes more sense to just pump it directly out of the pond because we've got perfectly good fertilized water that'll be much better suited for the prawns. So we're just going to put the pump in the pond and connect this hose to the filter and then another hose from the filter into the bait pond. All right, last thing to do is plug it in. And now we've got a good water flow. It should be coming in at somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 gallons per hour. I also put a big stone there to limit the erosion on that clay blanket. So even though we're pumping in clear water, it's going to start out a little bit muddy because it's just working its way in with all this new clay. But once I get it full, I'm going to bring the pump from over there and put it in this pond, and then I'll be pumping the water out of this pond through the filter and back into the pond, and that's when things will really clear up. So I got 2 different shipments of prawns. One shipment of adult males and females, and another shipment that's on the way of what are called post larvae, and they're newly hatched prawns that are about 1/8 of an inch. So prawns are a really unique species in that they can only breed in brackish water, which is a mixture between fresh and salt water. So although they can live in fresh water, they can't breed. So that also makes it a perfect fit for this pond in this scenario, because I don't have to worry about them overpopulating our bass pond. So while we're waiting on the new bait pond to fill up with water, I'm pumping water out of our backyard pond into a temporary holding tank, and we're about to add some of those adults. So the first one we got going in is a female. You can tell she's much smaller than that big male, but the females also have pinchers. And look who decided to show up, Buster the cat. He's probably going to be looking for a fresh snack, but he's not going to want to put his paw down in this water where the big boy's living. So I got the rest of them acclimating, and I'm still just blown away at how big these creatures are. Because these shrimp basically look like they're the size of a lobster. I'm going to try to get a quick measurement to see how long their pinchers are. It's a good 10 inches. It's gonna be hard to get him straighten him out, but then his body is about 8 inches long. So he's massive. So when a species gets this big, obviously he's got to have a name. So leave us a name in the comment section down below. Now the next male is just a little smaller body-wise. He's only got one pincher. They all like the tree. We got to get this guy a bigger tank. That's one of the smaller females, and the smallest female. So Sarah's helping me do the first feeding, and you basically just feed them protein pellets once or twice a day, and that high protein diet is what allows them to grow really fast. Now today we're going to be working with a product called Sunday to help improve the lawn around our backyard pond as well as out at the farm. Now our backyard is in pretty good shape overall, but we have a couple of trouble areas. You can see here we've got some dead grass, and also a few spots with weeds. So the first thing I like about Sunday is their product selection. Not only do they have the lawn fertilizers, but they also carry bug repellents and even seeds for those dead spots. Alright, so let's get started with the first treatment. Seems very simple to use. Now hooking it up to the water hose. So the good thing about my yard is everything slopes down from the pond. So I can apply this right here and we don't have to worry about anything running off into the pond, because even though you can't see it really good, we got a really good slope. Here we go. It's got pretty good range on it. Sunday works as a subscription service, and you start out by using the tools they give you to take a soil sample of the backyard. And you send that off to their experts, and based on your soil and climate, they'll send you back the exact mix of fertilizer you need to keep your yard looking great throughout the year. So Sunday takes all the guesswork out of it and make it extremely easy to use with these pouches that attach to your water hose. So do me a favor, folks, and head over to getsunday.com/BamaBass and get 20% off a full year of customized lawn plans. Alright, we just finished laying the sod. I wasn't 100% sure about doing it here at the pond dam, but I think it actually turned out pretty good. You can see we ran it all the way, everywhere we added new dirt basically. And this little pump has come in handy. So we're a little too far away from the well over there to use well water. So I'm just using this pump and it's sucking it from that hose right out of here. Got a splitter on there, watering in both directions, and so far it's worked out great. And right here as I'm talking about this, it's starting to rain. So Milo's out here doing his part and helping us fertilize the sod. And Sarah's always up for another outdoor adventure. I remember when we built the big pond, she was out here swimming in it when we were filling it up. And I have a feeling she'll probably swim in the new pond as well. So we got another fish feeder installed here because it's really important to feed them every day. And we're going in with that high protein starter pellet from Aquamax. And that's 50% crude protein. They're going to get big quick. So while we watch the bait pond fill up with water, I'm going to talk about the future plans for it. So I initially thought about putting a drain pipe in the bottom of the bait pond that would drain out into the main pond. But I decided against that because later this fall, Aquascape's going to come in and turn this into an Aquascape style pond like the one in our backyard. So this particular pond will be here for just one season, but if we have a lot of luck with the prawns and want to do it again, I may build a different bait pond somewhere else out here at the farm. Because after seeing this one take shape, I do think this is a perfect site for the Aquascape pond and have a nice view of the 5-acre pond and maybe even some future pet fish in the Aquascape pond. So the ospreys came back, and right whenever one of them was getting homed in on a fish, another one took a swipe at it and threw it off its path. So we got a pair of ospreys out here now to go along with the eagles. Can't wait to see which one of them use that eagle tower to nest in next season. And about the most consistent thing about this pond is 3 times a day the feeders are going to go off, and that means snack time for the bluegills. So I'm thinking about increasing the duration of the feed timer, so we're still going to feed them 3 times a day. But as you can see in the video, they wipe out all the pellets in just a matter of seconds. So I think now that we're starting to get into the spring and things are warming up, I'm going to increase the pellet output, and you have to keep an eye on it and make sure they eat it all, because any leftover pellets can start degrading the water quality. Now guys, I can honestly say I'm blown away by what you're about to see in these next couple of clips. So as most of you know, we started a tagging program with our bass, where we tag each fish so we can track them each time they're caught. But I've been fishing my entire life and have never seen this happen. So pay close attention at what happens on these next 2 fish catches.
one of the best spots out here. It's almost guaranteed to be a fish there.
This is a very normal looking bass. Nothing really stands out as a unique feature other than maybe that pink dot right there on the bottom fin.
Alright, this guy is 69,587.
Now guys, if I hadn't seen this with my own eyes and had just tagged this fish, I wouldn't believe it. So I caught this bass, tagged it, released it, and he swam back to the exact same spot that I caught him at and bit the exact same lure again 5 minutes later. What are the odds of that?
Off the old feed trough. Oh, 95.87.
You can see where I just tagged him. You can also see that little pink dot on that bottom fin. So either this fish is not very smart, or those genetics just make them extremely aggressive. And I'm kind of starting to lean that way because if you guys recall, when we had them in a 5-gallon bucket transporting them into the pond, most fish would be scared in that scenario, but we were dropping little small minnows in there and they were eating like it was any other day. And this is also the first fish to weigh in over a pound, so we'll be announcing a new winner for that in just a second, but let's go catch some more.
And 13 inches long. Go ahead and get her back. That one almost got me hung up in that tree. Another male. Alright, this guy is 1380. He needs to eat a little more. If you notice, the old duck house is over here. We let it off the island and it's been floating around basically whichever way the wind pushes it. Hit it as soon as it hit the water. That was pretty wild. This is a chunky one. Still not as thick as I'd like to see them, but it looks a little better. Scan this one. No tag. Alright, that one is 95.97. Didn't take long, first cast. Still no giant. Alright, I just tagged this one. He is 0025, measures 12 1/4 inches. Got him. Got another one that's been tagged already. This one is 0913. Well, so much for measuring him. I tried to put him up here and measure him. He flipped right off into the water. There's one. Fight. Still pale. Oh, look at there. A little spawn in action. Bottom of the tails. I guess maybe she's been fanning. Might have some eggs in there. Awesome. She is 102. 12 inches long and 102. Alright, head on back out there and spawn.
So here's an updated look at our spreadsheet, and Lily is the name of that aggressive bass that just got caught twice. But if you're new to this is a contest where we're letting you all name the first 104 bass, and we're going to tag each one of them and have a series of contests that you can join in on. And we've still got several spots open, So if you see a letter that doesn't have a name beside it, leave a fish name in the comment section below, and I'm going to keep updating the spreadsheet in each video. But we have some winners, so Leon Clinton has won a $500 prize and had the first bass weighing in over 1 pound. And Barrett Cook had the first bass that was caught twice in one of our previous videos. And look who decided to use the wood duck house for a nest. I can't tell for certain if those are bluebirds, or maybe even martins, but happy to see somebody finally using the duck house. And the oak tree that we planted out here on Alcatraz Island is doing great. Starting to put on its new leaves this spring. But what's not doing great is the grass out here on the island. And that's something we've struggled with since we built the pond. And it's really because we don't have that great of soil out here. It's really heavy in clay, and it's been hard to get grass growing on it. We even brought in some more topsoil and subsoil last year, and then shortly after that, had a big flood that washed it all away. So it's time to go through and weed eat all of the winter weeds and dying grass, and I'm going to go back through and reseed it. Hopefully we'll have better luck this year. So I got the grass cut, got everything seeded, now we got the water turned on. Hopefully we'll have a green island in the next couple of weeks. So we just had a pretty good little rain come through. It's getting there. Won't be much longer. We'll have it full. But you can see this area right here. This is where we had all that erosion, if you watched that last video. So a lot of this water is puddled up here, but we're going to install a drain right here in this area that'll catch all that water as it comes in, and then we're going to reroute it through a corrugated pipe down there to the main pond. Because the last thing we need is a bunch of water flooding this pond and then it going over the levee right there into the other pond. And I'm sure the sod is enjoying this rain, but won't be long. We'll be adding the shrimp in. But speaking of the shrimp, it's good that there's a lot of grass left in here. You can see it's lining all the banks, and I'm sure the shrimp are going to love that. But we're also going to come in with a lot of aquatic plants. So this pond is a little bit different than that pond because I can control something on this scale. So we're going to put lily pads and other plants like that the shrimp may even eat, which is fine, but we're just trying to get something in there to give them a little bit of cover in case those birds and raccoons come looking for them. All right, out here at the backyard pond, we just got 1,000 golden shiners delivered. We do that about once every week or two. Let's see if we can find Bonnie and Clyde. There's Clyde right there. He's up in the shallows chasing some of those shiners around. And there's Bonnie. I know it's feeding time. There's Outlaw, the big crappie. Alright, I'm going to scoop some to bring out to the farm tonight and feed them off the dock. And for a quick update on Bonnie and Clyde, they're going to be getting moved into the 5-acre pond any day now. But for those of you that live in the southeast, you know we had this unusual cold front that came through in March where we got sub-freezing temperatures. So now I've got to wait a little longer for the weather to stabilize. And my goal is for the water temps in this backyard pond to be as close to the 5-acre pond as possible. Now let's take a dive underwater and get a closer look at the crew. So the biggest fish transformation throughout this past winter is hands down the black crappie that we call Outlaw. He has put on some mass and has obviously been hammering the golden shiners. And we also have some massive bluegills in here that we call Jekyll and Hyde. You can see Jekyll still putting on the pounds. And there's a look at the little Ninja Turtles coming out. But one of the questions I get asked the most is how much do Bonnie, Clyde, and Moby weigh? And these camera angles can play a trick on you, but some people think that Moby's bigger than Bonnie and Clyde, and he's definitely not there yet. So I can't give you an exact weight, but Bonnie's the biggest out of the three. And I'm guessing she's pushing just over 3 pounds. And Moby is definitely caught up to Clyde. I think he still may be just a little under. And I'm thinking they're both right there in the 2.5 pound range. But obviously, whenever we transport them to the 5-acre pond, I'm going to tag them and weigh them, so we'll know for sure then. So I was interested to see which wildlife stopped by the new bait pond, and it is no surprise that the first ones to show up are the owls. They've been with us since the beginning of the pond build, and have inspected every piece of work we've done out here. And it looks like one of the owls we call Hooter is going to use the new watering hole as its hunting grounds. And now the bigger of the two showed up, the one we call Al Capone. And some deer coming out to check it out. And this is one of the pair of twins that we had this past season. And we also had some triplets, and as far as I know, all of the babies survived this past season and didn't really have any run-ins with coyotes. But that flashing you're seeing is the game camera taking photos, And as you can tell, the deer don't seem to mind at all. So now it's time for an update on the baby ducks. So we hatched these guys this past November, but now our babies are all grown up and all their feathers have fully developed and they have those beautiful color patterns that mallards have. So we kept them in the duck house throughout the winter with a heater, and that's where they call home. But every day I try to entice them out and get them over to the pond, and I'm hoping that eventually they'll call that home. So we've been practicing our flying lessons, and let's just say it's a new adventure every day. They picked up on flying pretty easily, but they don't have the landing down just yet. And this old gal likes hanging out up under the truck.
Here they come. Hey, babies.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, they're everywhere. He almost landed right on you.
And now it's time to feed our smallest bass, Tiger. And a lot of you have asked why he is smaller than the bass in the 5-acre pond. And bass only grow as big as their surroundings, so when they're in a smaller tank like this, they'll grow some, but not to their full potential. As soon as we move them over to the 300-gallon tank, you'll see a huge growth spurt. And then also, when he goes to the backyard pond, he could probably get close to his full potential there. But this little guy can eat. And now it's time to feed Mr. Moby. So the bait pond's almost full of water, and if this cold front gets out of here this week, you'll see us adding the prawns in the next video. Alright folks, that is going to wrap up this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to follow along with all the pond builds and wild animals we have out here at the farm. But I hope y'all enjoyed this one, and we will see you all next time.